We're definitely seeing kids vaping in the middle school level. We're catching some kids, but we know that vast majority of the kids are not getting caught, and that's because the trends, the technologies that the vaping companies are coming out with, they're making it very easily to conceal these things. So the vaping devices that we're seeing are things that students are normally carrying or normally should have on them, things like pens, watches, thumb drives.
Juul is just one specific vaping device, but it's the most popular vaping device. This is the device itself, and then this is the charger that plugs into a USB. So even if it's plugged in, you might not realize what you're looking at because it does look like a USB memory stick. We have other vaping devices that also are very easy to conceal and that we are seeing in our schools. These are some of the more popular ones. So we have the Soren Air, the Soren Drop is very, very popular. This is a vaping device. This is a vaping device, and then we have the vaping watch. So you would not necessarily notice if your child was wearing the vaping watch.
This is some of the items that have been confiscated this year alone. Keep in mind, we're probably only 3-4 weeks into the school, so it kind of speaks for itself that it is something that we are seeing in our schools. It is something we're definitely dealing with in our schools. It is difficult for us to detect in the school because of the simplicity of some of these items. As you can see, some are very small, some look very unassuming.
We need to look a little closer. Does it have an opening on the top? Is this a vaping device? Yes, it has an opening at the top. It has a place to charge it.
We've had incidences in the school of the kids using them in class in front of teachers. They don't all give out the plume of smoke that a lot of people associate with vaping.
An example of this would be a teacher turns around to write something on the board, and that time a student can quickly take a puff, exhale, and by the time the teacher turns around, the smoke is gone and there's only a light fruity smell that's available. We've had a few kids go home sick from school this year because of these things where they come in, they hit a vape from a friend, they don't realize how much nicotine they're taking in, and they end up getting sick because of it.
Some of the new trends we're seeing now is a lot of our high school kids who have embraced the vaping and the electronic cigarette use, now they are using what are called concentrates. Instead of having flavored nicotine, which is how vaping started, it's now a liquefied drug, such as concentrated marijuana. The effects, the mind-altering chemical that is going into them is much higher. They can mix whatever they want, whether it be opiate of some sort, a heroin, meth, or fentanyl. They can then put it into a larger device such like this, and they can smoke whatever drug they choose out of that.
Even if you don't suspect that your child is using them, we need to be checking and making sure that we know what our kids have on their possession. You know, it might seem very overwhelming as a parent to think there's no way I can keep up with all this stuff, and that's why we're here, is to make sure we show you the most popular things that we're seeing and to make sure we give you the information that we have.
Things that I would suggest for parents is parents themselves need to get educated on the dangers of vaping and the different devices that kids are using.
The hazards of this, about the long-term effects this may have on their goals, whether it be the football team or pep band or whatever it might be. These are going to close some of those doors if they get in trouble for this.
Why are we so concerned about all of these products? Well, vaping is not FDA regulated. Vaping devices have not been approved for cessation. So from a public health standpoint, we do not suggest using any vaping products at this time. We are very concerned not only about the new lung diseases that are popping up both in our state and nationally, but we're also concerned because nicotine can change the teenage brain very quickly. The nicotine content is incredibly high in these products. Nicotine changes the adolescent brain, and there is science behind that. We know nicotine changes the adolescent brain. Really what we're seeing is a setup for a lifelong addiction to nicotine, whether it's with a vaping device or with a regular combustible cigarette.
Parents need to be involved in what the kids are bringing home, what the kids have in their vehicles. We see a lot of it's hidden vehicles.
When you start to have these conversations with your kids, if they start getting defensive or maybe they don't want you to look in their room or their backpack, those should be cues for you to say, okay, something's going on here.
A lot of it at first glance is very unassuming, but if you were to really look, most people would then realize that it's something they've never seen before, and if that's the case, they can always ask those questions at the school or the Fargo Police Department, and we'll help go through some of that.